Oscar, let's talk about the difference between the Pajana and the Ciabot Mentin. These are two different vintages, two different elevations. The wines are quite different from one another. What are the differences between the two?
Between Pajana and Ciabot Mentin, I think that the first thing is that all this area is called the Lange. Nebbiolo is a kind of variety that if you change really one thing in all the terroir, change totally the wine in the end. It's just elegance. It's so elegant that if you change, for example, the altitude or the exposure, in the end the wine is really different. For example, in this case we produce Pajana and Ciabot Mentin, just totally the same winemaking in the cellar. We use the same kind of barrels. The time in the barrel is the same, it's always 2 years. We use 60% of new oak and 40% of second passage, mostly no toast oak and French oak. So more or less is that the winemaking. The big differences are those. This one is a soil of Ciabot Mentin, this one is a soil of Pajana. They are really 1 year and another is there. Pajana is lower than Ciabot Mentin. We are talking about Ciabot Mentin is 430, Pajana is 330, so more or less there is 100 meters of differences from one to another. And one thing that is really important, Domenico remember me that in Pajana also we found there is a kind of way to move the soil during the autumn after the harvest that is called rippare in Italian. I don't know which is the translation of that in English. When we have done that one this autumn, we found some fossils in the Pajana soil. Mostly you can find some differences from one to another wine just because the altitude is different, the soil is different, it's pretty different, and also the exposure is different. Ciabot Mentin is a east and Pajana is a southeast. So two different kind of ripening, and more or less we harvest the picking, the moment when you start to pick the bunches is the same. There is 3 days of differences from one to another, but in the end the wine is always different. During the testing, in the barrel testing, in the first period that we start to test the wine after 1 year in barrique, Pajana it's always more round, more fruity than Ciabot Mentin. Ciabot Mentin is expressed just after the total aging, so you can start to understand Ciabot Mentin after 3 years. Pajana it's always readier before than Ciabot Mentin. This is in the wine is probably the most differences from one to another.